Hey guys, well, I wanted to tell you a story tonight, but it's kind of twofold. A, it's a public safety alert, whatever, PSA, whatever, sure. And B, I'm tired of telling this freaking story. So, a couple months ago, I think it was 2.5 weeks before Thanksgiving, I went out fishing after work, get my kayak. Nothing that I haven't done all summer last summer. Went out of my kayak. I bought a kayak this spring, but still, going out kayaking by myself was nothing new. Anyway, I went out fishing. So that's kind of the start of the story, but real quick, I gotta put a little disclaimer in here. There's some faith-based content tonight. Love it or hate it, it's part of the story. Sorry if it offends you. I'm sorry, but it's part of the story, so it's in there. Anyway, I decided to go out fishing, and the night before, I loaded my kayak and my tackle bags and my rods and reels and took off, went to work, and was gonna go fishing on my way home. I didn't have my phone that week. My phone was actually at the store getting a warranty done on it, and they hadn't got it back to me. Usually, let's preface this a little bit. The first time I ever went out of my kayak, it was kind of tippy, I'd heard that about kayaks, but I never had a kayak, never been on a kayak, so I didn't really know. So I happened to wear an old life jacket that I had, and I decided shortly after I launched my kayak for the first time that I wasn't going kayaking without my life jacket. I had my life jacket in my truck, and it was November. It was cold water, so I took my waders to stay dry, and in my life jacket I have a dry bag in my little pocket in my life jacket. Can you go grab that for me? So I keep a dry bag in, I put my phone in the dry bag in my life jacket, and that's twofold. One part is I can take pictures of fish if I get a good fish, and B, if my kayak was to tip, I'd have my phone in my life jacket, have it in the pocket of my life jacket. Here it is. Had to ask my wife. I was kind of unprepared. Not a good Boy Scout, but here's my life jacket. Good little comfortable life jacket. Here's my dry bag. I went out fishing, had one bite on a drop shot and was just kind of just fishing along with the drop shot. I think I threw a swim bait a couple times and broke it off. But I was out fishing, and like I said, I didn't have my phone, so I told my wife that I was going to be out till about 9. I had an iPod with me to listen to music, so I just set an alarm on the iPod, and I parked my truck, launched my kayak, and headed out. Went out where I was planning on going, kind of the backside of the lake, and I think I was about 300 yards out. and I was sitting there fishing, and I made a cast, and for some reason my rod flipped out of my hand, and I was just kind of like sitting there and was like, well, shit. Well, crap, we'll see. And I looked down, and it was still kind of close to the surface, so I just took my paddle and reached over to try and hook my pole, and I didn't realize how far down it was. So near as I can tell, my kayak was kind of sitting like this because I was having to lean over so far. So I was leaning to my left to balance the kayak out, and I didn't hook my pole. As my paddle broke the water, I remember seeing and hearing the paddle break the water, and then everything started going to my left. And I remember thinking, am I? And then it just went dark and I was underwater. Like I said, this handy dandy life jacket here says it's a type 3 PFD. But anyway, my life jacket, I kicked my feet, but my life jacket pulled me up to the top of the water. It did its job. People have teased me about wearing a life jacket, but you know what? I would much rather be teased about wearing my life jacket. I'm not overly cautious. I'm not an overly cautious individual, but I respect the kayak, I respect the water, and I value my life jacket. And I came up and I was kind of caught my breath, kind of came up with, kind of had to get my bearings about me again. And I could see my truck, it was about this big from where I was at. And I kind of assessed the situation, and sorry, my dogs are barking at something back there. But I grabbed the kayak and started dragging it, swimming with it back to shore. And I remember I was chuckling. I was like, man, I'm going to be in trouble when I get home and I got to explain why I'm coming home soaking wet and without 3 rods and reels. But I was just swimming back to shore, and finally I decided, you know what, screw this. I'm going to see if I can get back on the kayak. So I flipped it over, hopped up on there, got my chest up there, and was starting to kind of kick my legs to get my legs up there. But it rolled back over me. It just bloop, rolled back over. Head went underwater again, came back up. Still had my hat, still had my sunglasses, still had my AirPod in my ear. Started swimming back to shore again. Shortly after I tipped, I'm not a religious man by any means or any stretch of the imagination, but I do believe in the power of prayer, and I do, I believe in God and in the power of prayer. And I started praying shortly after I hit the water, oh man, I want to go home, help get me out of here. And there was no wind that day, which is weird for where we're at, no wind. But I remember thinking about my wife and kids when it wasn't as easy to get back to shore as I thought it was going to be. And I think that was about 5:15, 5:20 when I tipped in the afternoon. And the sun had started going down, and I was just trying to get back to shore and trying to pull the kayak back, and decided, you know what, I'm going to try and get back on this thing one more time. Tried to get back on there, and it tipped over again. on me. Put this together. The second time it tipped, my pole holder on the front of my kayak, because my kayak has 2 rod holders behind me and then it's got one up in front of me. Well, the second time it tipped, that pole holder caught right here, but it didn't just catch my life jacket and pull my life jacket down. It caught in front of my waders and pulled my waders, and my waders started taking on water. So then I was out there kind of panicking, like, crap, I gotta get this off, I gotta get this off, I gotta get this off. And then the sun went down and it got dark, or started getting dark. And my thought went from, I'm gonna be in trouble when I get home, to I'm in trouble. It's dark. I don't have my phone. There's nobody out here. You know, I'd been hollering for help, hoping that somebody would hear me, and I wasn't getting any response. And yeah, I remember in that prayer, I remember saying, I wanna go home tonight. Like, help get me out of here alive. I want to go home. I want to grow old with my wife. I want to watch my kids grow up. Just help get me out of here. Give me some wind or something. And then there was a slight breeze that picked up, just enough to put a slight ripple on the water. And the wind was blowing away from my truck, and I was like, you know what? Screw this. Mama didn't raise no fool. I'm not going to kick into the wind. I'm going to kick with the wind. So I'm out there, waders full of water, upside down kayak, 300 yards or so out from shore. And ended up kicking away from my truck. I was like, you know what, screw it. If I got a 2-mile walk back to my truck, I got a 2-mile walk back to my truck. I'll just get the kayak, I'll get it beached, and then I'll pull my truck around, walk back to my truck, pull my truck around, load the kayak up, and go home. Still pretty confident that I could get out. Just kind of bobbing up and down in the water. Kayak's still upside down in the water. And I was just hanging on to the back, kicking. And I remember as I was kicking, I could see the hill. I could see the hill to the side of the lake. And I was just kind of using that as a reference point. And I remember I was getting discouraged because I wasn't going, and like I wasn't making any progress towards shore. Just sitting there kicking, praying for everything I had. The phrase that comes to mind is, there's no atheist in a foxhole. You know, I'm not afraid to die, but I'm not ready. But yeah, it was like the water was cold. Excuse me, I was getting cold. The sun had gone down, and I was getting discouraged. And I remember just praying for help, praying for somebody to hear me, or somebody, because I'd scream for help every so often. Somebody to hear me, somebody to come around the trail, something. And I remember, I think I'd been in the water for about an hour, and I saw a light flash up on the hill, and I remember just thinking, oh yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But then the light disappeared, and I remember in my prayer, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention because I'm getting discouraged. I'm just going to keep my head down, and I'm just going to kick. Just help get me to shore alive. And I happened to look up, and that light just like flashed up on the hill and disappeared. And I remember thinking, crap, he's going to the house up on the hill, because there's a big house up on the hill. And I broke down crying. And yeah, I just broke down crying. Just, I'm sorry. I've tried to be a good man. I've tried to be a good husband. I've tried to be a good father. I know I failed. I know I could do better, but I've tried, and I'm sorry. I don't want to die tonight, but if I'm supposed to die, if I'm not supposed to make it home, I remember, like, this is all things that I was saying while I was praying while I was out there. I remember, I said, I don't want to die, but if I'm supposed to go tonight, just tell my wife and kids that I love them and that I died fighting. And shortly, like, crap, I'd say within 3 seconds of when I said that, I saw a light come down the trail around the side of the lake. And I just started screaming for help. And apparently I've got a set of lungs on me, because come to find out, I actually know the person. Like, we grew up together. We weren't really friends, but he grew up around the corner from me. He heard me from 200 to 300 yards away. And he told me he was running on the trail with his dog and had his headphones in listening to music. And maybe he's changed in the 15, 16 years since high school, but in high school, knowing him, his music would have been blaring in his ear. But he heard me over all that commotion, and he stopped. And I could see his light, like, scanning the water, looking for me. And, like, his light would stop over here, and I would say, no, go to your left. And he would go, and I'd say, no, come back. And then he'd sometimes he would stop right on me, but his light would be pointed too far in. So I'd say, come out, come out, come out. And then he'd start scanning again. And then I remembered, hey, I got a headlamp in my backpack. Because my iPod, my dry bag's not a dry bag, apparently. But I remember thinking, you know what? Sorry. Somebody kicked on a dinosaur toy, and I thought one of my dogs was hurt. But I thought, I remembered my headlamp. I keep a headlamp in my backpack. And I was like, you know what? I got a headlamp. It might still work. So I pulled myself around the front of my kayak and dug down. And actually, the strap on my headlamp, last time I had it out, I must not have put it back all the way, because the strap was hanging up. And I turned my headlamp on, little 3-beam, it's about that big, Energizer headlamp. And sorry for the shaky cam. But I turned it on, and he was able to find me. And I heard him say, help is on the way, I'm on the phone with 911. And I think he turned around to get his bearings, kind of figure out where he was at. I think. I don't know. I think. And I thought he was leaving me. And I was just like, no, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. The reason I didn't take my waders off when they filled up with water, I wasn't wearing my big, thick, heavy neoprene waders. I was wearing my breathable waders. And when they filled up with water, just tried real quick to see, and I was able to kick my feet straight out behind me and leave them hanging out behind me. They're breathable, you know. They weigh a little bit more than my life jacket. And I thought, you know, this sucks. My waders are full of water, but the water in the waders, I'm going to be able to keep that water a little bit warmer than just my blue jeans and my socks. And so I kind of left them on. Or not kind of, I did leave them on for that reason. And I remember thinking, I'm glad when I was in Scouts, I'm glad they made us swim in cold water. So that we kind of, you know, anyway. But I was kind of thinking that all the decisions I was making, especially as the sun started going down, all those decisions were potentially life or death decisions. But yeah, that dude heard me, called 911, and the cops came, lights and freaking sirens. And I'd never been so happy to hear a siren in my life. And I just remember thinking, like, where are they? It feels like it's been an hour since you called, or since I've, you know, got your attention. I do remember he said, I'm on the phone with 911, help's on the way. And the Rangers came, but they actually took their boat to the other side of the lake. And I was screaming, you know, no, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here. Didn't think about the noise from their engine, but I'm sorry, I was kind of panicking. And they finally started coming towards me. And I remember by that time, somebody had pulled up on the south beach behind me. I don't know why I turned around, but I did, and I saw a set of headlights behind me. And the Rangers finally got to me, and there were 3 Rangers in the boat, and I remember hearing them get on their radio. We have him, you know, we're here. 1 person, 1 male, upside down boat in the water. And they said, okay, they grabbed the front of my kayak and they said, we're going to pull you around and pull you up the ladder. And I was exhausted. Like, my arms were on fire from hanging on to my kayak. My legs were on fire from kicking. My hamstrings kept trying to cramp up. And I remember I was just like, don't do it. Don't you do it. Don't you cramp up on me. But they pulled me around to the ladder, and I had no strength to pull myself up on the ladder. And like I said, I couldn't feel my feet. Like, I knew my feet were numb. I didn't know how the rest of my legs were. I wasn't really worried about that. I was just trying to keep kicking. And I tried to lift my legs up, and I was like, you're going to have to help me. My waders are full of water, and my legs are dead. And they pulled me up into the boat. You know, I'm a very large individual. And, you know, 6'2", and big. And I don't think I've ever felt so small as when they pulled me up onto the boat. And we got in the boat, and they got me in the boat, and I said, I'm glad you guys came. I don't know how much longer I would have made it. The newspaper article about that says that I couldn't get on my kayak because my waders were full of water. I'm like, no, I couldn't get on because the dang thing kept tipping over on me. And then they said I told them I would not have made it much longer. I'm like, no. I said I don't know how much longer. Anyway, they got me back to shore, took me to the boat ramp, and I just kind of said, well, what about my kayak? And they said, we'll go back for it. We're just going to get you out of the water. We're going to get you in the ambulance, get you warmed up, and we'll go back for your kayak. They did tell me that there was 3 sets of lights out on that side of the lake, and they weren't sure which one was me, so they just kind of aimed for the middle one, because I was like waving my headlamp. I tried to turn it off to flash SOS, because I only know 2 letters of Morse code. I know S and O. But it wouldn't turn off. It was full of water. It turned on. Luckily, it turned on. And I was just waving it, trying to get their attention. And they pulled me. You know, we got up to the boat ramp, and I had to have them help me take my waders off when we started slowing back down. And there was a guy up there, and they're like, okay, there's a guy up here. He's got blankets and towels on his tailgate. Just go sit there and get wrapped up and start drying off and start warming up until the ambulance gets back. And I remember as I was walking up, one of the guys that was there said, how long were you in there? And I said, well, I think it was about 5:15, 5:20, maybe 5:30 when I tipped. And he said, you're lucky. It's 57-degree water. Where I was at compared to where they were at very well may have been colder. Because they were fishing the Rip Rap Dam, and I was on the other side. Come to find out, that was the county sheriff. I was a Washington County sheriff. I was sitting on his tailgate. He never heard me screaming while I was out on the water. Once he got his truck out of the boat ramp and up above the little island in the lake, and the Rangers got their boat out of earshot, he could hear me. They said he could hear me plain as day. I would imagine he had his pager on him, because come to find out, the 911 call went out as somebody in the water at Sand Hollow, and he might be saying something about murder. I'm not sure. I was pretty frantic, pretty scared, and at that distance I can see how that would come across. You know, I remember saying my kayak tipped over. I can see how that could get construed at that distance, and hearing somebody so frantic as something about murder. You know, there was nothing about a murder, but I understand it. I had the Rangers call my wife, and they said, you want to talk to her? And I was like, yeah. Well, wait, is she going to kill me? And when I picked up the phone, she was yelling, you know, yeah, I'm going to kill you. What are you thinking? But the ambulance finally got back around. You know, I was like, hey, I'm at San, you know, just come pick me up. The Rangers said they'll let you in for free. They're not going to charge you to get in. And the ambulance pulled back around, and I remember I hopped off the tailgate just in my stocking feet, wet stocking feet, and I never knew that numb feet could hurt so bad. Like when I hit the pavement and started walking, it almost put me on the ground how bad my feet hurt. Got in the ambulance, they had the heater going, heated blankets. They took some information, you know, they had me stripped down, took some information, got me wrapped up in blankets, took blood pressure, heart rate, you know, and then they took my temperature. And a few minutes, well, it felt like a few minutes after I'd been in the ambulance. And then my wife got there, and my wife and my daughter came in, and the first time they took my temperature, I was 95.3 degrees. So I dare say when they pulled me out, I was hypothermic, and just getting my waders off and getting wrapped up in some blankets, and then getting in the warm ambulance helped bring my temperature back up. And they asked how long I was in the water when my wife was in the ambulance, and I was like, I don't know, hour and a half. And my wife, her attitude changed from, yeah, I'm gonna, what are you thinking, to, whoa, I'm not mad, I'm just glad you're here. And then, you know, my heart, they said I had a right bundle block when they did the EKG. apparently that's when like the right side of your heart's not working, not pumping blood out correctly. But they just let me warm up. They took my temperature again. It was like 97.7. And they ran the EKG again, and it came back normal. And which I think was just due to the cold and the stress that my body was under. And then they took it again right before I refused transport, and had to sign the thing that said I refused transport. But it was my temperature was 99 degrees, and that's kind of normal for me. 99.2 is kind of normal for me. Needless to say, I made it. I'm here, obviously. Life jackets. That's my PSA. If you're going out on your kayak, wear your freaking life jacket. It's not worth it. Mine tipped. Like I said, I didn't even have time to finish the thought, am I tipping, before I was in the water. I thought, am I, and I was underwater. You know, I'm grateful that guy was running and heard me. I'm grateful for the rangers that came and pulled me out. I'm grateful for the paramedics. Excuse me. But yeah, I learned some things. Yes, I still believe in God and the power of prayer. You can tip your kayak in the blink of an eye. A life jacket absolutely will save your life. Because every time my kayak tipped, I went underwater and then came back up. I think I was only underwater for maybe a combined total of 2 seconds. But yeah, you can get cold. Like, I'm very well insulated, to say the least. But I think that helped. But yeah, just wear your life jacket. It's not worth it to be cool. You know, I knew I was going to be fishing 23, 24, 25 feet of water. And that's about how far they said they pulled me out. And if you're in a situation, try and stay calm. If you have something, like, take your phone with you for sure. If you have a bag that you can put your phone in to keep it dry, do that so that if something happens, you know, it's there. I have noticed, because I've been back out on my kayak, and this is just me personally, I've noticed that if I can see the bottom, I'm okay. Or if I can focus on something and just stare at what I'm focusing on, I do a lot better. But if I get out, and even if I'm not that far from shore, you know, 100, 150, 200 yards out, I get nervous. But if I can see the bottom, I'm okay. Or if I have something close to me, like rocks sticking up or a tree or something that I've noticed that helps calm me down. And I'm pretty sure that's somewhat normal, but I'm working on it. I'm trying. I do go back out. I have gone back out. I'm a lot more conscious of what I'm doing. Every little rock of the kayak, I've noticed, gets me, like the first time I went out of my kayak. But yeah, I'm here. Like I said, I'm sorry if it offends you, but it's part of my story. I believe, excuse me, that my prayers were very much answered that night. I'm very grateful for that I got the outcome that I was seeking. But yeah, you know, and if you're in a situation where it's not going the way you want it to, or it's a scary situation, what's it gonna hurt to say a prayer? I anyway, I don't want to get religious, but yeah, it's not gonna hurt anything to say a prayer. And yeah, that's what I got tonight. So it was an interesting experience to say the least. It's a yeah. Anyway, so take from this what you will. If there's anything you want to know, just ask me. Leave me a comment. But yeah, so there is that story, and hope you guys all have a good day and tight lines, and may 2021 be better than 2020. Talk to you later.